Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Monday Launch. Forgive my tardiness. I am still working out how to use this tech. Anyway, I'm here. So Monday Launch is just a little bit of inspiration for the week, some micro lessons and an encouragement to set an intention for the week and to help you to become conscious of your life and to move through life consciously creating and to understand certain dynamics that are happening in your reality that a lot of spiritual teachers out there are not teaching. So you'll hear me talk about this topic often. And yeah, so we'll just get into it. It's a real sort of bugbear of mine, this positive thinking piece. And if you are a positive thinker, I'd really encourage you to stick around because I'm going to give you some information today that could help, transform the way you move through life. Now, I'm not talking, when I talk about positive thinking being detrimental, I'm not talking about, having a positive outlook or you'll hear me use the term optimistic or optimism more, simply because I don't want people to get confused with positive outlook and positive thinking. And so I tend to steer towards optimism simply because it kind of breaks that association that people have. Now, the positive thinkers of this world, it's really quite toxic. What I see happening often in so much of our spiritual community, our self-development community, is people just wanting to be positive all the time because they've had a shitty life. And I get it. I get it, because if you've experienced, a lot of emotional upheaval, you've been on an emotional roller coaster, you've experienced, potentially a lot of perceived traumas, then when you find positive thinking and you have an experience of being positive for, maybe the first conscious time in your life, then you'll feel good and you can get attached to feeling that way because the contrast of where you were was so great. Now, there's a few things. No one can be positive all the time. It's literally impossible. There is not a single person on the planet who is positive all the time. There are certain principles or laws or rules to this game of life that I teach in my alchemy program, the cosmic law framework, which governs how our reality exists and how you exist inside of that reality. And so if you're trying to be positive all the time, you're going to have the negative come in to bring you back into balance. Okay. That's why if you're trying to manifest something, and I'll get into this more in another video, you don't want to become attached to that outcome. The moment you're attached to that outcome, you're going to draw in the other side to break that fantasy, to break that illusion. So you don't need to be positive in order to heal your body. You don't need to be positive in order to heal your life. And in fact, what you're actually doing is causing more damage. You slap on a smile, you slap on a happy face, and you put yourself out in the world as this one-sided being. I see it on Facebook often. It's like, my life is so amazing, here's all the highlights, and backstage, right, people are miserable, they're angry, all sorts of things are going on. And so the cause of all of our discomfort, the cause of all of the fuckery in our life, is our suppressed and repressed emotions. Now, this happens at an early age, and this is where shadow work comes in, right? And You know, I really hesitate to use that term sometimes, because if you've had an experience of shadow work, if you've heard of shadow work, but you haven't had potentially the correct information, then your results could be lackluster. Your results could be not as they could be, right? Because there's a science to this, okay? And so if you're not understanding how it all works and how it is all perfectly divine and orchestrated, then there's potential that you won't get the emotional collapse that you're worthy of. And so shadow work, you know, it's really about taking back these disowned parts that we've kind of thrown away or tried to throw away, we've hidden by way of emotional suppression, repression, in order to maintain a loving relationship, or even just for survival in some cases. You know, when we're babies, when we're children, we depend on our parents or our guardians to keep us alive. And so we chuck all that emotional stuff into a backpack, as William Bly so beautifully states, and we carry that backpack around. That's our emotional baggage that we carry through life. And you know, if we suppress and bottle up these emotions, which is literally what we're doing, where we're bottling up our emotions, and we know through, you know, the work of Candace Pert, that our molecules of emotion actually do get bottled up, and they get bottled up and they get stuck in our neurons and in our cells. And if we don't have a healthy release, then this expression is going to come out in an unhealthy way. And so you know, it's not about being positive, it's not about trying to be happy or joyful, or it's about the full expression. Okay, and allowing ourselves to fully express our emotions. It's when we don't do that that we have problems. And that's why positive thinking can be so dangerous, is because the positive thinkers tend to have these blinders on, and they don't want to look at the stuff that you know, has actually caused the issue in the first place, because it was so freaking painful. And I get it, right? You know, I've had a lot of experiences in my life. For anyone who knows even bits of my story will totally know that I've you know, I've been similar places to where you're potentially at. And so, you know, we try and slap a positive thinking facade band-aid over this gaping wound, whether it be emotional, mental, or physical, and it doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. It does not do anything to heal what's actually going on within you. And you know, we know that you know, scientifically proven that our body is the subconscious mind, right? And so all of this information, all of the, you know, emotional clusters of stuckness, and the you know, the traumatic events that have happened in our life, our perceptions of these things, all of that information that was suppressed and repressed. And don't get me wrong, you know, like, we've had amazing strategies to keep us alive. However, at some point, you've got to get out of that survival mode and into that thrival mode. And you can only do that by addressing the root cause. And so all of this stuff is stuck in our physical body, and it'll come out as a trigger. It'll come out as an explosive moment of anger or rage or sarcasm, or people pleasing is a classic. People pleasing is a classic. Or, you know, if we don't listen to the slaps and the pokes and the prods, we'll end up manifesting some sort of disease in our body. And so anyone who has a dis-ease in your body, if you're putting on the positive thinking, facade, you're actually doing more damage to your body. I mean, cancer is a perfect example of this, right? Anyone who has developed cancer, has suppressed anger and suppressed rage. And, someone very close to me has had cancer and, gone through the allopathic treatments. And she's such a nice, kind, loving person, right? And I just say in air quotes because we've all got both sides. We all can be kind and mean and nice and rude and all of the things. But the anger and the rage is so suppressed, it's impacting her physical body. And so while she was clear for a certain period of time, that's come back. Now, if she was to take a baseball bat and beat the shit out of some pillows for a few weeks, she'd probably clear her body of cancer, literally. Because it's the bottled up emotions, it's the stuckness in our body that's manifesting as disease. And so can you see how actually the positivity is not only not it, but it's actually can be detrimental. And so again, I'm not saying I want you to move through life depressed and angry and negative. A positive outlook is fantastic. An optimistic outlook is fantastic, right? And you'll have moments where you're not that as well. I tend to, like I said before, I tend to steer towards optimism because it breaks that kind of association with the positive thinkers. And, the positive thinkers tend to think that we're going to get to this point where we have this Pollyanna life of rainbows and unicorns and lollipops, and that, if you have something happen in your life that doesn't go the way you want it, you haven't raised your vibration high enough, you haven't been positive enough. And it's just complete and utter nonsense. That's not how this universe works. I go into this information in a deep way that we break the science down so it's really easy to understand. We break these theories down so it's really easy to understand. I'm not that smart, right? So I really want to share this information in a way that's really digestible and easy for people to understand and get. And so that's what we do in my alchemy program. So if you're ever interested in that community membership, it's beautiful. We've got such a connection with the people in there, and it's only going to get better and better as we expand. So if you ever want to join, please just DM me, reach out, and I'll send you the next intake. Anyway, so I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. How is this resonating with you? What are your takeaways? Have you been on this positive thinking track? I see people in like, the Abraham Hicks community and the Joe Dispenza community. As you know, I used to be a lead facilitator for him. And this is my story, right? I was this person, and it was like I was so scared to look at anything that was negative in my life, perceived negative, because I thought that if I did, I'd create it. I'd create more of that. But it's actually the opposite is true. If you're willing to process the things that you don't love, you can actually integrate them back into your system, and you drop all resistance between you and those things that you don't love. And so you stop repeating those patterns. This is karma, right? This is what karma is. It's those repeating patterns, those lessons we came here to learn. And so as we collapse these triggers, these emotional charges we have around things, we take these parts of ourselves back. We love ourselves. We integrate that information back into our system, and all of that stored information that was in the subconscious mind that was causing us grief is now balanced and leaves our body and heads to the superconscious mind. Okay, so this is how we heal. And, and so you don't have to be positive all the time. You do need the tools. You do need a better strategy. You'll hear me talk as well about boundaries. You actually don't need to set boundaries. However, until you have the correct strategy, until you have the correct tools, boundaries are going to be beneficial for you because you don't have another way. You don't have the correct information that is going to help you to heal where you don't need boundaries. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know where you're checking in from. I'd love to know what your intention is for the week. Is it to bring yourself back into balance a little bit more instead of trying to be so positive all the time? Are you going to kind of ponder what's the difference between positive and optimistic? Do you have a dis-ease in your body that you're wanting to heal? Is there an emotional component that you're wanting to heal? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. I'm Jill Ogle if we haven't met before, and I will see you during the week.